If we could construct a psychiatric Frankenstein monster, we could not create a leader more dangerously mentally ill than Donald Trump.
Hello, and welcome to the premiere episode of E Podibus Unum. I'm Meitan.
I'm Dan.
And we're very pleased to have you here for our maiden voyage, I guess.
Yeah.
Our
Can we say maiden?
Quinceañera?
I don't know.
Is that...
No, quinceañera is 15. I know that because
right.
I know Spanish.
But you become a woman, so
yes.
Our bar mitzvah.
So our podcast is becoming a woman right now.
That's right. Our bar mitzvah.
Before it was just a girl.
Yeah. And
now
we're a man.
We're ready to get
bat
married.
Mitzvah,
yeah.
Our
Jews have the
16,
bat mitzvah. What? But Jews become women a lot earlier. Am I right?
12 as the bat mitzvah. 13.
That's mad early.
13 is the bar mitzvah. And then I don't know what else is there.
The point is, we're women. and we're
coming
strong.
Out. Is that not coming out?
No, we're not coming out.
Not coming out. No, what did like
coming out is when you were
like the debutante.
Oh, yeah, you're being presented.
Okay,
it's more like that.
Yeah,
but we're not Debs. We're
okay.
not part of that culture. We're more quinceañera.
On today's episode, fake billionaire Donald Trump's endless corruption and the latest on his impeachment, the Republican coup against democracy, and the huge win for Democrats in last Tuesday's election.
Huge. They got us bad this time.
But first,
white supremacist, loser of the popular vote, and 43 times
accused
sexual assaulter.
43 times.
Exactly. Donald J. Trump rejected November as Native American Heritage Month, and instead proclaimed it National American History and Founders Month. You know, it's like what, President's Day, Veterans Day, and the 4th of July aren't enough?
Yeah, unbelievable. So a lot is coming out in the trial of Roger Stone and how he and Trump and the Trump campaign conspired with Russia to try to steal a presidential election. So as the things come out, history is always going to remember Trump as his so-called presidency that's always going to remember as illegitimate. Absolutely. Because we can never ensure that it was a free and fair election.
Absolutely. Guys, you got to message that Trump is an illegitimate president.
Absolutely. And of course, Alex Jones, that lunatic, how he's not locked up is beyond me, but he is trying to jury tamper and intimidate witnesses. I'm sorry, the jurors on Roger Stone's.
Hey man, listen, man. There's everybody knows there's a deep state here going on. You got these liberals, these communists.
Anyway, nearly 2/3 of U.S. voters say Trump has not made them better off, says the Financial Times.
64% say they are worse off financially or the same. The Republican GOP tax scam was a massive handout for billionaires and giant corporations, and every Senate Republican voted to ensure this reckless bill became law.
Yeah. So just remember, as far as the messaging on this, you got to hit most Americans are worse off financially under Trump. Keep on pushing that. There's a lot of examples of it. The tax scam is probably the biggest one.
And if you have any doubts, just ask the Fed. They have to keep cutting rates.
All right, we're getting down to the impeachment. This segment we call All the President's Men and Women, because most of them were actually appointed by Trump.
Yeah, I mean, calling them never Trumpers. They were appointed by Trump. How is that never Trump?
Silly talk.
All right. So, boy, and Dan, I really wanted to get into like everything here, but we just don't have time for that.
Much.
Yeah, there's too much.
We don't.
So the House Intelligence Committee, chaired by Adam Schiff, released transcripts of former and current Trump administration staff. On Monday, they released Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, who said that she felt threatened by Trump.
Yep.
She asked for support from the State Department and never got it.
Yep.
She was told by Gordon Sondland, the lunatic who bought his way into an ambassadorship with the EU.
Yep.
She was told by him to tweet in support of Trump, and maybe she could keep her job.
What's the big deal? If you like a guy, you just tweet him. Tell you like him.
We have a country being run by a teenager.
But babysitters. They're babysitters. That's basically what it is. It's crazy.
Former senior advisor to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Michael McKinley, quit, if you remember, over the corruption of Pompeo and Trump. Then on Tuesday, they released transcripts of Gordon Sondland, who added a 3-page revision. He had this amnesia during.
Listen, people
it
forget
happened.
stuff.
Yeah,
People
it's terrible.
forget stuff. It's true.
So he says there was indeed a quid pro quo, and he's the one who actually said to the Ukrainians, listen, unless you...
Everyone can forget that. You know what I mean?
They also released that the White House counsel tried to mine him for data before he originally testified, which is kind of interesting.
What? They just want to know what's going on. What's the big deal?
Wednesday, they released top diplomat to Ukraine Bill Taylor's transcript, where he confirmed that it was Giuliani who pushed the Ukrainian government to start a phony investigation into the Bidens.
Yep.
And then Thursday and today, Friday, as of the time of this recording, they released several more, including Colonel Vindman and Fiona Hill's testimonies. And, unfortunately, Dan, I just haven't had time to go through it. But pretty much the upshot is that they confirm that there was...
Yeah, everything is confirming this. No one there is saying, this is a lie. Everything the president did was great. All we have is people like ringing alarms, people saying, whoa, someone said the president did something really bad.
And as of the time of this recording, John Bolton has publicly stated that he has some information that he wants to share, but he won't testify unless a judge tells him.
Unless he's forced to or
ridiculous.
whatever, because he wants to save it for his book,
Well,
where he's going to get millions and millions of dollars. But if
That's
he's
true.
forced to, he will, because, he too does see at least a sense of duty in this whole thing.
The Republican aide personified, Leningrad Lindsay Graham, said he won't even read the transcripts.
Yeah, what is that?
Now, imagine a juror
Yeah.
deliberately not looking at evidence. I mean, and that's a good messaging point that we should...
Yeah, that's a good one to tell the kids.
Yeah, exactly. The senators are jurors
Yeah.
in a trial because the trial will be held in the Senate. And to say that we won't even look or consider the evidence because we are so devoted to our cult leader
Right. And,
against the American people.
Listen, it's like we keep on saying to message that these Republicans are traitors to the United States.
Yeah.
They're traitors. No American acts like that.
But we should say what it is in plain language. And what this is an impeachment. Basically, the question is it right for the President of the United States to extort and bribe a foreign leader to conduct phony investigations on a political rival?
I don't see
That's
the
it.
problem. What's
it.
wrong with that?
It's extortion and bribery. So one of the ways we can inoculate ourselves against this nonsense is through the notes of the Mueller report. Michael Cohen and Trump had discussed a script about using a conspiracy theory that they knew was fabricated by Russia because it was. They told Paul Manafort, who the chairman of the Trump campaign, who told them. So we know from Michael Cohen that they had already created this script about Biden and CrowdStrike and all this nonsense. Aside from the fact that it makes literally zero sense whatsoever.
All the research to build their little movie screenplay here.
And they also show that the notes also show that Trump in 2016 pushed for the emails. One of the most important things here that we definitely need to mention is that, listen, Trump has a vast fundraising network. We are, that's something that we have to contend with. And he is using the money that he's fundraising to give to Republican senators for their reelection campaigns here. So this is, again, it's essentially jury tampering.
Yeah,
it seems like that's all they know. They don't know how to do anything legal. I don't understand. So our little mini message here is when the evidence was overwhelmingly clear that Trump betrayed his country for himself, Senator X, whoever that is, took his dirty money and acquitted him during an impeachment. During impeachment, bribery is a crime. End the corruption.
All right. So one of the things that we really want to push here on E Podibus Unum is the idea of ABC. Always be communicating, okay? Because you have to get your message out there.
Always.
constantly, So this is one of the things that Trump is actually really good at. He repeats and he repeats and he repeats the message, repeats the message, and repeats the message, and
He
repeats
does.
the message,
Dan,
and repeats.
yeah.
Okay, see what I was doing there? I was just repeating. No, but it's smart to do that because most people are so distracted throughout the day.
You got stuck in a feedback loop there.
Yeah, no, but that's what he does. But here's
Yeah.
the thing, because you and me have talked about this. There's one of his own people said, he repeats this crazy stuff over and over
Right,
again,
yeah.
and it gets into your head.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so smart.
And Roger Ailes talked about that also, of just like here at Fox, we pick like 3 things and we just repeat it, repeat it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it just works. So, if we don't live in a world where we can have, proper discussions based on evidence, yada, 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 then we have to use these tactics to get people to do the right thing, So that's one of the major points, that we try to get across there. So you can always find places to get your message out there. Okay. Look at pop culture, look at, celebrities saying stuff that then you can go back and say, well, there's this. So for instance, we have a clip here of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He's talking about a friend of his who died recently. He was, a fellow, bodybuilder or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he became a famous chiropractor or whatever, right? And then,
Cool.
But then he gets into a little Republican messaging here, okay? So let's take a listen to this.
And Franco was really fantastic. And he was one of those great immigrants that came to America and never used America for anything other than just the opportunities.
Right.
But he never did an unemployment check.
He wasn't looking for a
had his
handout.
own health care. He paid for his own health insurance. Everything he paid for his studies and for his school and everything like this. He was a great, great immigrant that always contributed to America rather than sucking America dry.
Okay, so you see, even, though he was talking about his, long lost friend, which, our, condolences go out to him. But even there, he chose to use some Republican BS messaging, trying to vilify immigrants as always being on welfare and this and that.
So what's the non-BS way?
When
How do we
the
clap that?
reality
Yeah.
the reality is that it's native-born Americans who proportionally use these welfare programs more, and in sheer numbers, there's more of them.
It's also
Now,
a matter of investing in America, really, because
Right.
like that number, if I, and please don't tweet me at this because it's off the top of my head, but if I recall correctly, it was every dollar invested into social welfare programs yields $7 in economic growth.
Right, and with that, I think that's with native-born people. With immigrants, it's even higher. And so that's the point we have to make is like, no, you, Mr. Schwarzenegger, you don't get to get away with this. That is just a lie, and he's trying to vilify these people. So I think our message here is, look, a hand up is not a hand out.
That's
okay?
correct,
If
yeah.
it wasn't for hand ups, you've heard of this thing called Game of Thrones?
No, what is that?
It's just some dorky like sci-fi
Oh
bullshit.
my God, you're
But
going to get such angry
guy.
tweets.
No, but anyway, the guy who wrote it,
George R.R. Martin.
yeah, his family was on welfare and he lived in the projects.
Well,
Okay,
So was
yeah, right. But my point is, but we try to vilify these people.
J.K.
and-
Rowling.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling was on the dole. I
Yeah.
mean, she lived in her car. This woman was on like British welfare. And she became a billionaire. And instead of taking her money and moving to the Cayman Islands, or something, she kept
Right.
it in Britain because she said, you know what? This country did right by me and they took care of me
Absolutely,
when I
yeah.
was down. And she said, you can take half of my $1 billion. And she was fine with that because that's what good people do.
I don't know if it was half. But
So, it was half. It
was
was
it?
half. Yeah, at least half. It's Britain.
that's true.
So the message here is a hand up is not a hand out. A hand up is actually good for everyone because it puts way more money, into our system of government. And it just makes everything a better thing. So Arnold, I'm sorry, but you're wrong in this situation here.
So I was actually a little perplexed at first as why you chose to have a celebrity with the Republican talking points instead of with more Democratic talking points. But I think you make a very good point, and the point is we can't let these things slide, which
Right.
is what we do way too often. We're just like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, whatever. Yeah, we do have to be
Exactly.
clapping back.
Exactly. And this is one talking point that they always bring up.
Yeah.
Oh, these immigrants,
Yeah,
all they do
exactly.
is get
Yeah.
on welfare. When the reality is totally different. So we got to clap back every time.
Yeah.
And point out examples, not just George R.R. Martin, but like Betsy in Georgia, who I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
has
absolutely.
a bakery now, who maybe also lived in a car and was on welfare, but now made something of her. So we have to get
Absolutely,
these
yeah.
stories out there because these stories are what convince people.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers never will. Stories do. That's why messaging is so important, because it's about storytelling.
Do you remember there was, I think it was during one of the campaigns, 2008, 2012 or something like that, there was some celebrity who said, "Oh, I was on welfare. I was on Medicaid. I never asked for a handout," and like everybody laughed at him. Was it?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Was it Craig T. Nelson?
It's
Might have
possible,
been,
because
yeah.
he's a big.
They said that, but
like
it was
we're-
someone.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
it's
Is like these things are such a part of our culture. You know, thank goodness, because
unbelievable,
people would be like literally be billion people begging in the street, but people don't even see it as a handout.
Right.
Because it's actually not. It's a hand up. It's like, look,
It's
we're
an
gonna,
investment.
Yeah, it's like
You're
we're gonna.
investing in the American people, and the reason that Republicans want to cut the investment in America is because they don't believe in America. You ever have a pet?
Yeah. I love pets. You know, I didn't used to be a cat guy. I was a dog guy, but now I'm a dog and cat person.
Oh, well, that's good. That shows growth. Did you know that while every shelter pet is unique, like some love a good game of fetch?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Mostly dogs. Mm-hmm. I do not have
Not a lot of cat fetchers.
Yeah.
They don't like
ones,
that.
But yeah.
They don't do that.
Others would rather snuggle together on the couch.
Oh.
Yeah. Now that I do have with cats.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
cool.
yeah.
Watching
Some
Netflix,
cats.
you just chill with the cat.
Yeah,
or
you're
dog.
Netflix and chilling with the cat. There's a line.
And it's relaxing. You just relax.
However, there is one thing that they all have in common. You know what that is?
That they bring love to the world.
That's right. Pets are pure love.
But you know what?
What?
Right now, millions of pets in shelters across the country are waiting to be rescued and adopted.
Did you know that 44% of dogs and 47% of cats in American homes come from animal shelters and rescue groups?
If you guys are thinking about getting a pet this holiday season, make sure to visit the shelterpetproject.org. This ad is brought to you by the Ad Council, Maddie's Fund, and the Humane Society of the United States.
The Democrats had big wins in Kentucky, parts of Pennsylvania, and Virginia last Tuesday.
Woo!
Yeah. So they had decided, the American people in those states had decided that enough was enough of the Republican un-Americanism. They rejected Republican politics of hate and white supremacy. They rejected Republican subversion of democracy, of their fascism and authoritarianism. Instead, they chose to embrace a future of equality, a future of freedom, and a future of justice.
Yep, I told y'all. Y'all Yankees thought we're all like dumb Republicans, but we know what's right. We know what's wrong. And this damn president is wrong.
Oh, that's, yeah.
My name's Billy, and I approve this message.
Thank you, Billy.
Long live Kentucky.
So in Virginia, Democrats now control both houses of the legislature,
amazing.
as well as the governor's mansion. And this means several things. They can protect democracy against the Republican Party by ensuring that it's not gerrymandered. Right?
Yep.
By ensuring that the Republicans can't manipulate the census, because remember, 2020 is a census year, and they were planning on manipulating the census and, of course, gerrymander. By ensuring that Republicans can't suppress the votes, by passing freedom of life laws against gun terrorism, by ensuring that women are treated equally, and I don't just mean by potentially passing the ERA, the Equal Rights Act, by preventing Republicans from passing their anti-woman, anti-family, forced birthing agendas that have been on the rise in many of these
Mandatory
Republican,
birth. Mandatory birth. Yeah.
And remember this, though, it also took several Supreme Court rulings instructing Virginia to un-gerrymander the state, and that's what helped them win. And that's a powerful message that, because it shows that Republicans cannot win in free and fair elections.
No,
that's why they have
can't.
to manipulate.
They can't.
Kentucky voted for a Democratic governor, and the Republican Party is trying every dirty trick in the book to try to prevent him from claiming victory. The Republican refused to concede. He was very unpopular. He's asked for a recanvassing, which basically means that the counties now have to recount all the votes. He lost by nearly 5,200 votes, and what I think this shows us is that Moscow Mitch needs to be worried, because even though
Very worried.
even though it's not quite like Virginia, where Republicans won in some of the more down ballot races, they lost in the statewide race.
Exactly.
So,
and that's 5,200 votes.
Yeah.
And assuming that there were Republican hijinks,
Right.
voter suppression is there.
Exactly.
It probably would have been 20,000 votes.
so we don't know how much. One thing I think the Democratic governor will do by executive order is end a lot of the Medicaid suppression. This previous Republican governor kicked many people off.
Yeah.
He was extremely unpopular.
Yeah, that was a major reason.
Yeah.
He's kicking
So
people
it
off
might
the
not be a bellwether, but it might be a chime weather, a little kazoo weather, or
the
something.
ideas are there that some kind of universal health care is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the message, one of our messages that we like to push is health care for everyone.
Exactly.
Now, I know Nancy Pelosi said it the other day, but she
know.
stole it from us. We've been
stole it
talking
from
about
us.
that
We've been
for
talking
weeks.
this- yeah.
But you know what? This
Months,
is fine.
actually.
We're doing this show for people to take our ideas
Right.
and run with them.
So absolutely. So you couple that win with Amy McGrath's outraising Moscow Mitch, and the fact that he is actually the least popular.
I'm not
he's the
scared.
least. He's the least popular senator in the country, and he is literally the designer of the swamp. He is the reason
right.
that there is obstructionism and corruption, and
I'm a Southern designer.
yeah.
Mitch McConnell at your service.
So, also in the suburbs
half
of
man, half turtle. I'm sorry. go
God,
ahead.
the most evil turtle, like Yertle the turtle.
Seriously.
Yertle the turtle was about Hitler. Little known fact, or Mitch McConnell.
Too soon, bro.
Yeah. So Dems also made significant gains in the suburbs of Philadelphia, which was the Republican stronghold for the state for many, many years.
Yeah.
So that might be a possible better predictor for how Pennsylvania will go in 2020 than whatever may or may not happen in Kentucky. This really proves, I guess, the flip side of the coin of Edmund Burke's quote about the only thing that evil needs to win is for good people to do nothing, Dan.
Yes.
So this is when good people
Actually went out and
stood
made a
together.
difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we banded together. We stood shoulder to shoulder, and we envisioned a future that was brighter, fairer, and freer.
Yeah.
And we're sick of
with simple ideas like healthcare is a human right.
Yeah, I think just America is being sick of being told we're not human enough for healthcare.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not that dignity. That Republicans think that dignity is a four-letter word, is a dirty word, and that we should be treated equally. I mean, it's simple things.
It's revolutionary thing to want to be treated equally.
So I'd say for the message, Americans have rejected Trumpism, Republicanism, conservatism. Republicans cannot win in a free and fair election. We, the American people, want and chose freedom, equality, respect, and dignity. That's where we choose. This week in bad messaging, Dan, we have three things that we need to talk about because, oh man, the first one would have been front page news in any normal setting, but boy, these are not normal times.
Would have been big news.
Yeah. And that is that Iran has started up its nuclear program again because we, the United States of America, we're the first to violate the nuclear agreement. And they're like, well, okay, well, fuck you. We're going to do what we want anyway. So now Trump has made us incredibly vulnerable. Yep. He has endangered our national security. He essentially gave Iran a green light to create a nuclear weapon and endanger the Mideast, endanger our allies, and endanger America. Just like he gave the Turkey a green light to do the same thing, endanger the Mideast and a genocide. He gave the green light for a genocide.
But Eitan, I gotta disagree with you here because this is really good for Russia. So Trump works for Russia, so this is good news for Russia.
I suppose so.
I don't understand what problem is, comrade.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vladimir.
Trump works for me. He's doing a good job. Leave him alone.
My apologies, Vlad. Dems also have to be making hay about how Moscow Mitch was talking about the trial of the impeachment trial and saying that Trump won't be convicted. That's literally a juror
What I do? I'm just Mitch McConnell here.
That's literally a juror saying, I refuse to be unbiased, to look at evidence and reach a conclusion. It's me saying that I will not convict. Just like
He's a
Moscow
traitor.
Mitch and, you get $300 million from a Russian mafia tied to Arlick.
My friend, no. Don't talk of exclusive deal in Kentucky that Russia's giving money for. Don't talk about this.
They love the aluminum. Yeah.
Don't talk. It's not cool to talk money like this.
All right, Dan, and here's a quote for us. With Donald Trump out of the way, you're going to see a number of my Republican colleagues have an epiphany. Mark my words, end quote. Do you know who that was?
Uncle Joe Biden.
It was Uncle Joe Biden. What fucking world is this guy living in?
I think he's living in the world of old rich white guys.
Yeah. So he said this literally around the same time that Moscow Mitch was at the White House bragging about how he held up the Merrick Garland nomination. Yeah. So, I mean, he's just got to come down to reality.
Yeah,
he has to, like, he doesn't understand that, Louis Gohmert is out there threatening civil war. People are shooting up synagogues and public places in 33 trials. The defense has invoked Trump.
There was one just recently. Shooting at a.
They are literally out to kill us.
Yeah,
and to disenfranchise us. Yep. And he's saying, he's bringing a textbook to a gunfight. To a gunfight, and saying, hey, please read this. Please read that. This is why we should all have healthcare. This is why he doesn't even believe we should all. I mean, he believes in his.
He's living in a fantasy world. I mean, just recently there was a plot that was foiled by a bunch of white supremacists. They were going to bomb another Moscow synagogue,
I think. Yeah. So
he doesn't get the gravity and the jeopardy of the situation.
He does not understand the gravity of the situation. I think that he's just he's an old Clintonian Democrat who I think he's just out of touch and he's being he's hurting his own campaign. So we love you, Uncle Joe, but I don't know. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for our first episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. We are at E Podibus. That's at EPODIBUS. If you like the show, please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcast. Please tell your friends. It means a lot to us. Yeah. Also, since this is our first show, we'd love to hear from you. Please send us your feedback at epodibus@gmail.com. Again, EPODIBUS@gmail.com. We're also looking for an intern to help out. So if you're a political junkie, not a junkie who spouts nonsensical politics, that's Rush Limbaugh.
Hold on there. There's a...
Rush, get out of here from last time.
All right, goddamn it.
Oh, Jesus. Then we would absolutely love to have you.
Excellence in broadcasting.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.